why is the subject of security important? In your vast experience, what kind of breaches have you been made aware of, right? And you're like, this...
Transaction security.
Exactly. So why is it not the first thing they think about? The Payment Log is a fintech media company. We are focused on learning, consulting, and coaching in the fintech ecosystem. We have 3 learning vehicles, and the Fintech Open House is just one of them. At the Fintech Open House, what we do is we invite experts, fintech experts, people that have had very deep experience in various fields in the fintech ecosystem, and we discuss deep dives. So we have learning vehicles that are for people that have just started their career in fintech, but this learning vehicle is for people that would want the deep stuff, right? That want to hear from experienced people that have handled various projects. And that's what we are doing today. My name is Ify. I'm the managing partner and the founder of the Payment Log. I've spent 15 years in the fintech industry. Today, I'm very pleased to have Gbolabo with me as we discuss the very important topic, prioritizing transaction security for fintechs. I will be handing over to Gbolabo in a minute to introduce himself. Just keep the comments coming in where you're logging in from. Thank you. So, Gbolabo, over to you. Let's meet you and a sense of your journey and your career path in the fintech ecosystem.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Ify, for having me. I've been following Payment Log, and it's a privilege to be called to come speak and share here. So, so to jump right into it, I started my career as an enterprise system administrator at InfoPrive. So yes, building secure infrastructure, transaction switching infrastructure, online real time. So all those was termed like really critical. So there was a lot of paranoia around managing infrastructure, ensuring infrastructure is secure. So while at InfoPrive, InfoPrive is a pioneer, payment company. A lot of things we did then was new, for the first time. So for example, I can boast of saying I probably was one of the set of people to set up 2-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication then for, I think was it Pay Direct for the banks. And, then everything was new and it was just exciting. So at some point when we had a lot of banks on the network, there were a lot of concerns around securing, infrastructure, securing transaction, ensuring card data was secure. And then the best option was to, comply to PCI DSS. And, in our usual tradition then in InfoPrive, we like doing things ourselves. So instead of getting a consultant, so we jumped on it and we went through the requirements and called in a QSA from South Africa, Trustwave. And, after about 2 visits, we got the, security certification, and, it was a thing of joy and pride. And all of a sudden, like, we can do this for the banks. That's where the idea of, running a cybersecurity company came true. Anyway, I left InfoPrive, worked at, left for Altec West Africa, Secure Printing, Peso Bureau, which was linked to payment. So I'm sure that was probably what made, employing me easy because, I had worked in InfoPrive. And then all we had to do then was move some of our secure best practices working with InfoPrive to Altec West Africa. After about a year at Altec West Africa, I left to start up InfoPrive, which is the company I run now. And yes, the journey is from what we've led at InfoPrive. We feel the industry needs, information security, transaction security, infrastructure security, and and that was what we were pushing. Along the line, opportunities came to work at UBA. Of course, I would confess the money was attractive. So I was employed as the application and database security manager at UBA. Yes, the experience from InfoPrive, which is understanding of payments and how to manage critical infrastructure, was a major advantage. And a lot of transformation was done for the IT enterprise security team at UBA. And it felt like a continuation because I was still in that same ecosystem. UBA was going digital on most of its channels, also optimizing most of their legacy systems, and also considering security too. So after UBA, I moved to Coronation Merchant Bank to be, yes, I changed a lot, to be the CIO at Coronation Merchant Bank. Yes, it was exciting. I had security, as one of my teams, and technology infrastructure, and also digital channels, mobile banking, internet banking. So yes, I had the opportunity to, work with vendors, then team up was starting. So they did some integration for us. I think we did some work with InterSwitch. So literally I was like a broker that could just bring, all tech businesses, fintech businesses. And, it was a good scoring point for me then as a CIO. Okay, fast forward, I left Coronation to Unified Payments. So I was a group head and I had multiple teams under me. The channels team, which is competing with ITEX, Global Accelerex. So yes, I was well involved in the payment space. E-commerce team, Pay Arena, competing with QuickTeller and every other payment gateway. And then business innovation, that's like competing with 60 grand, you need to switch, optimizing ATMs and their channels. So I've been in that payment tech ecosystem for a long time. And yes, after, working for the industry almost killed me, I decided to just come back to my real love of managing and securing businesses and also the ecosystem was ripe. A lot of fintechs are coming up or were coming up, and they're still, I can tell you for free, based on the requests we get to help fintechs comply to PCI and ISO, it's like every week.
Wow.
It's like every week, at least every month, we get a new fintech that needs to comply to PCI and ISO. And it comes from me, before they get their approval in principle from CBN. And, for me, it's just interesting that the ecosystem is blowing up. So the topic for this session today is really timely, because now what is really required is the payment companies, fintechs have to grow with security in mind. In fact, they need to plan and build with security in mind. So you don't get carried away, transaction volume start picking up, we are getting funding and you're just forgetting about securing the business. So I think it's a good time to talk about this. And yeah.
Nice. So before you go into, the meaty stuff of the security and all that, cybersecurity, information security, I'd like to ask, I know you did engineering, elect and computing engineering for your bachelor's and management courses, and none of that has any cybersecurity or information security. And just like you've said, from your very interesting profile, there's hardly any conversation I have in the industry, right, in the fintech industry in Nigeria that doesn't involve Gbolabo, right, or Tokumbo. So I just want to find out, for those that would like to explore this career path, why did you choose cybersecurity? How did you get into cybersecurity?
Okay, so a funny part of my mind would say I was looking for an easier way out. Technology management was just difficult. But then again, that's not true. So the love for cybersecurity started back from InterSwitch, which is we were building infrastructure. And I remember always working with the development team, whether it's Istigra or TechQuest. And the question is, everybody was just interested in building, and then we run into issues. And it's always after the fact, like after the thought that, okay, now let's put controls in place. And, we did more reading, and we saw that there was a need for securing card data. There's a need for ensuring even your platform, or your applications or your solutions or your payment gateway is continuously available. And to achieve that, you need to put security controls in place, put security processes in place to operationally, to govern your business, to drive your business. So that's where it started from. And so it was a niche. And we felt that, maybe it's the rate at which we worked in the industry. I felt, I've handled like the best type of infrastructure in the country. So it's time to start securing. So yeah.
Interesting. So talking about security, right? Some people think security is something you add, right? After you've done everything you want to do, let's just sprinkle on some security. Why is the subject of security important? In your vast experience, what kind of breaches have you been made aware of, right? And you're like, this thing is, a no-brainer. We should have put this thing at the forefront of whatever it is we are doing in the industry. Can you help us shed some light on that?
Okay, so first is, I think security used to be an afterthought because of stakeholders involved in growing a business. So today, the best thing you can do is starting up with someone that's technically savvy and understands the importance of securing your business. So as you build your roadmap for your product or your business, you're integrating security at every stage. And example of issues encountered, so I'll give you maybe 2 examples. Fintech, build an amazing app, didn't necessarily do QA and didn't do security assessment. They went live. Subscribers are already onboarding, moving money, wallets being loaded. And then next thing, money starts flying out. Some insider has access to be able to extend limits and have access to customer details. And that's just because nobody was monitoring and Maker Checker wasn't set up, or Maker Checker resides with the same person. The functionality testing, role-based access, ensuring your backend production admin credentials is not with one person, if at all, multiple factor authentication. So, just basic security controls or processes that could have been put in place if an assessment was done before you move to production. So for that fintech, aside following all the requirements of the PCI DSS they should have complied to, they could have done a security assessment and the report would have shown that, hey, it's easy to just glance or waltz through your application and move funds. Please plug these holes, remediate these vulnerabilities before go live.
Interesting.
So in a way, yeah, it's really critical. So today we even work with development houses and say, as you develop products, it's your responsibility to let your clients know that they should carry out a security assessment or put security controls in place, like put your app behind a web application firewall before go live. You need to inform them, or else you're just building to give out again.
Something is puzzling me, right? At the payment log, we have one of our learning vehicles that is the newsletter, and we cover Africa. And we're just telling the team of trends that we're noticing. Just last quarter, we had like 3 fintechs hit with serious breaches that cost them money. And this money was in millions of dollars. The lowest was from Kenya, and it was like $4 million, right? And I'm thinking, if I had a cosmetic startup, I would be bothered about, does my cosmetic hide blemishes, right? Will it make people glow? Will it cause any, medical reaction, that kind of thing? I think that if somebody is bringing out a financial application, that the first thing you're thinking about is make this money no loss, right? Let the money be as safe as
transaction security.
Exactly. So why is it not, from your experience talking with fintech founders, why is it not the first thing they think about?
So typically, most fintechs are about products. So there's that product, whether it's for cross-border transfers or lending or selling a product or a service. And to be honest, depending on who is taking responsibility of building or envisioning, security is hardly ever considered. And they don't, maybe if they are sought advisory from some consulting or professional firms, their roadmap would have been mapped in such a way that build with security in mind. So naivety can be allowed, but I think that's why the evangelism is going out now, that, build secure, build, consider customer data, build continuous business, consider business continuity. So yes, naivety is allowed. I'm just a developer. My own is to build lovely applications and I have ideas. But, it will be good to now consult to say, okay, how do I ensure I build this idea from a secure perspective? In fact, building to last generally, and also ensuring you can retain your customers by not incurring a breach, experiencing a breach and incurring some lawsuits where you would now lose revenue. So I think there's naivety initially. I also have met people that know, but they just don't think it's that important. So it's like insurance, yeah? I know people that drive big cars that don't do comprehensive insurance. Maybe it's the Nigerian in them. Maybe it's just, why do I need to give this money out when I've never been bashed, or I don't bash for the past 10 years? So security at times can be seen as comprehensive insurance. It's not needed, or you don't feel the value until you get breached. Your comprehensive insurance, you hardly will feel the value till you get bashed. And then you now enjoy just taking the car to the workshop and sending the bill to the insurance company. So same thing for cybersecurity. You put those controls in place, it helps you limit. So there's no 100% security, but at least you can know when you're about to be breached, or know when the breach has started, and you can stop it quickly, compared to a malware sitting in your environment for weeks and crawling out your data. So
awesome.